Most of us love citrus, but they can be quite confusing to prune and maintain. It's probably one of the fruiting trees that get the most questions and have one of the most concerns around how to maintain and keep it. So this is just a very quick video to show you what new growth looks like on a hard pruned young tree, and then during this stage as new growth comes out and pushes, what you should be doing to help put energy into the right places, airflow, sunlight, all of that, so that you get a healthy growing tree that has everything it needs to just keep thriving. First things first, what does new growth on a citrus tree look like? And here you go. You can see the very clear difference between the old growth and the new growth in terms of color. If we put these two together, you can immediately see the difference in the lighter green and the darker green. The new growth also comes out of the join where the leaf touches the stem. There's a little dormant bud there, and as it's stimulated, shoots out new growth. So it's much lighter. It is very soft and fragile compared to the leaves, the mature leaves that are actually quite hard and rough. So that's how you know the new leaves are coming out. Then I want to answer, what are the effects of pruning your tree in winter? And this is a perfect example. You can see this one was taken off there because it had a long single skinny branch going up. Took it off there, and now suddenly you can see all of the growth going all the way down the stem, even into here. Same thing, it was topped over there the previous year, which shot that out last year, as well as this one. You can see this one as well was topped in there, shot out all the new growth. And because those two tips were cut, all of the energy and hormones have moved all the way further down the tree as well. And you can see we're getting branches all the way down to the bottom. And this is where today's video comes into play. So why do we need to thin out new growth on a citrus tree? It might be a simple explanation, but it's something that's very easily overlooked. So if we look at this branch here, it's quite thin and quite flimsy. But if we come in close and we look at the amount of branches that are on the top there, if these all start developing and growing, this is going to be a very unbalanced and potentially weak tree. If we look at the top, we're already getting buds for fruit formation as well. Now what you should be doing is pinching those flowers off so you don't get fruit, because in the first up to 3 to 4 years you want to set the structure of your tree, not get fruit. So all the energy goes into growing the plant, not producing fruit. But if you were to forget about that, you let all of these branches go and they produce fruit, you have a high chance of snapping this branch off. The second reason is sunlight. So if you look here, there's two, there's a whole bunch of branches here, and as they shoot out in summer, you're going to be creating multiple canopies that are just going to shade out everything underneath it, which is going to cause an issue for weaker branches. It causes all kinds of issues, especially when it comes to fungus and diseases within citrus. You want airflow as much as possible. Thirdly is what I just said, airflow. If the more branches you have closer together within the center, the more you restrict the airflow, and the more you're going to stand a chance of having issues. So what we're going to do here is we're going to analyze our structure, and then we're going to decide what we're going to do. If you haven't seen my video on pruning to 2, I'll tag it up at the top. But in essence, you tagged 2, take this one off, you're going to get 2 more. And you're going to take this one off, you're going to get 2 more. Sorry, my chicken just laid an egg and she's busy boasting. So now what we need to decide is how we want our tree structured. Now for me, I want to create a 4 branch primary structure. So I've got 1 and I've got 2, and they're both going out at that angle. Now I want 1 going towards the back and 1 coming towards the front. So I'm going to look further down the trunk, and you'll see here's a nice branch, and this one has already been topped, and there's a branch, and there's a branch. So I've already got my primary and secondary scaffold going. So this one I will keep. And then I'm looking for one more towards the front, and you want to try and stagger your plants so that when the branches get heavy and they start going down, that the one doesn't shade out the other or overlap it. So we've got one towards the back, which will go down. This one out here, if it goes down, is in a different position to that one. So then we're probably going to look at selecting this little guy over here. So this guy will then come out towards the front over here. So what we're going to be doing is we need to make sure we remove everything else that's competing for nutrients and resources at this stage. So then it's pretty simple. All we're going to do is take your scissor and literally just snip them off. I prefer to not pull them off, because if you pull them you can create a tear which then runs down the bark, and that just opens up all kind of opportunity for infection. So I always prefer to just cut and get it done that way. Yeah, and there you can see, look at how much better this plant is already looking in terms of airflow and structure. Just remember, it's a young tree, so it doesn't look like a big mature tree. So it might look leggy, but I can guarantee you by the end of this season, in this big pot that it's in, it's going to look very, very different, and we'll definitely do a video on this. So just to recap, we've got the stem, we've got one towards the back, we've got a tiny one over there that's going to come out towards the front, one to the side, one to the side. So now we've got a beautiful structure to work from. Now we need to look at thinning all the new growth. Down here we're okay, because there's not much happening. But if we look at the top, we need to do some work. So in terms of forward thinking, if you look at this branch, there's a lot going on, but you'd still want to follow eventually the same principle. So if you have a look, there's a branch and there's a branch. So with time, those are probably going to be the two tertiary branches, and we'd probably take it off there at the end of summer, just to let those two then be the next season's main growers. But for now, we're going to just let this grow because it's a young tree, but we are going to thin it out. So what we're going to do is thin to only two. So if we look in here, there's actually two branches, these two coming out of the same node, which is a problem. We're also going to remove anything going to this inside of the canopy, so we want to keep this section open. So for instance, this one over here will definitely go. Some of these pointing up, which potentially could go in, they're all going to go, and then we're just going to thin those out so that we've only got two left. The same applies to this one. See, both of these branches are coming inside. This one's in, that one's in, so they will all come off. And then we will look at clearing up that side. The same principle applies here, where if we look over here, we have two branches coming out of the same node, so we'd have to pick one. Also, just thinking longer term in terms of structure, we need to make sure that we look after the branches we want to keep, which is more than likely going to be one of those, and this one we'll probably top it over here next year, so that we can start getting tertiary growth from here, and then eventually, once it reaches the height we want, which is probably, I would say, about 2 meters up here, then we're just going to start pruning for shape maintenance, and then we can just start enjoying all of the fruits. So let me do that quickly, and then let's see what it looks like. So we are back with what looks like a much skinnier tree. You can see a lot more airflow. This side is pretty straightforward. You can see now, if we look, It's nice and open, nice and structured. Everything is going to 2. On this side, because it's the primary branch, they haven't taken off as much just because I'm not 100% sure what the leaders are going to be, the tertiary branches for the next season. So I'm going to let these just go and then I'll see how it goes. We might end up taking it off over there and having a 3 branch bowl vase structure from there. It's hard to tell at this stage, where this one is pretty straightforward. So we're going to let that go. There's a lot of airflow and let's just see how it goes. Also, if I bring you in close here and you see these little flowering buds on these size plants, just pull them off. Just literally just pull them off. There's a little bud. There's no point trying to get fruit on a plant that is this size. It is just too small. The energy is going to be wasted. Let it go into growth rather than fruit. And yeah, that's it for now. We'll be doing a follow-up with this video, with this tree, so you can see how it progresses. But I hope it clarifies some of your thinking in terms of what to do when you have a citrus tree that is shooting out new growth everywhere. Just follow those guidelines and you'll be fine. So now that you know what to look for in a young, pruned, vigorously growing citrus tree, you can give it the attention it needs to get the right structure and scaffold in place to get a perfectly structured tree to grow copious amounts of citrus on. I hope you enjoyed it, hope you got value out of it. If you have any questions, please drop them below. Like it, share it, let's share the knowledge. If you've got any questions, let me know. And until next time, happy growing and God bless.